The bells of the great September tolled low and ponderous across the bruised sky above King's Landing. Yet for Oberyn Nimmerose Martell, it was the thrumming in his ears that drowned all other sound. The taste of iron lingered on his tongue, sweet and bitter at once, the flavor of survival mingled with rage. He shifted upon the litter borne by 4 grim-faced Unsullied, refusing the leather sling Prince Doran had contrived. He would not squander his first victory in the capital by appearing weak before the lions who prowled these stone corridors. Each jolt of the palanquin sent a filament of pain skittering up his spine where Maester Balabar's silver-stitched bandages tightened against the rib Tywin's monster had cracked. A lesser man might have relished the pain as proof of life. Oberyn savored only the promise it carried. One day more to scheme, one day more to see justice done. Sunset bled across the domes of the city as they entered the Red Keep, turning banners of Lannister crimson into deeper shades of garnet. Sand sisters escorted him. Obara with her jaw set like hammered bronze, Nymeria gliding behind in silent silk, and young Elia Sand flanking with 2 large eyes that drank in every gilded niche. They smelled the rage in him and wore it as their own, a cloak of heat against the chill of this lion's den. The hallways whispered with courtiers who bowed too hastily, their gazes fixed on the dirty pavers rather than the viper's narrow, brazen smile. At the threshold of the Tower of the Hand, Lord Tywin waited as though he had stood there since the founding of the keep. Not even the evening sun dared ignite the gold in his hair. His visage remained carved from pale stone. "Prince Oberyn," he intoned, mouth barely moving. "The king commands your presence in the throne room, but he would not have you carried like a corpse." "I walk where I please," Oberyn hissed, sliding from the litter. His knees threatened treachery, but he quelled them with fury and arrogance in equal measure. Obara's hand hovered near his elbow. He waved her off. "I made a promise in the arena, my lord. I intend to keep it." Tywin's gaze flicked to the spear haft cradled in Nymeria's arms, still sticky with Mountain's blood. "Try to remember which promises," he murmured. "And to whom?" Oberyn answered with a smile thinner than a Dornish stiletto. "You have my gratitude for the reminder." Together they descended flights of marble whose edges whispered of age and murder. Each step resounded like drumbeats of war. The painted table of Aegon's mosaic floor gave way to cold throne room stone, and there, beneath a vault of shadowed ribs, sat the boy king Tommen Baratheon. Small hands resting on wooden lion paws, eyes wide behind the crown too heavy for innocence. Cersei lingered at his shoulder. Grief etched new lines beside her lips, but her green gaze was emerald steel upon Oberyn. They had fetched her into black. Widow's weeds suited the queen regent like armor. Her voice carried more iron than Tywin's. "My son welcomes you and prays for your swift recovery." Oberyn bowed shallowly and straightened before the pain set root. "The gods are myriad and cruel. Let us thank them for small mercies." "Your duel," the High Septon croaked where he stood near the dais, demonstrated courage and restraint, his trembling hands twisted in cloudy sleeves. "Ser Gregor's fate is sealed, yet it pleases the king to see mercy extended, even to fallen foes." "Mercy," Oberyn's voice cracked like a whip. "If the beast yet breathes, send me to his bedside. I will finish the gift you call mercy." Tywin's silence quelled further blasphemy. He gestured to a steward, parchment unfurled, its wax sigil glimmering red gold. "The crown extends its gratitude to Dorne. Your courage has served the realm and the Iron Throne. In recognition, His Grace offers you the office of hand." Gasps fluttered through the cavernous hall like startled doves. Oberyn felt Nymeria tense behind him. Obara shift her weight as though to brace herself for uncoiled treachery. To stand as the king's hand, Dragonstone's cold chains of responsibility, but also the knives of influence sharpened upon every whisper. He let the silence stretch until even Cersei's breath sounded like the scraping of whetstones. "I accept," he said at last, voice soft as the sands of the Red Waste. "For the love I bear my murdered sister, and for the realm that bleeds." Cersei's smile curved without warmth. "Then kneel, Prince Oberyn, and receive the badge." When the golden chain settled upon his shoulders, The pain in his ribs flared white-hot, yet pride scorched hotter. He clasped the hand's brooch, fingers turning bloodless about the ruby hand. "Rise," Tommen whispered, "and serve." Oberyn stood, and in that moment he felt the room tilt around him. The whispers of courtiers, the silent calculations behind Tywin's cold green eyes, each a star in the firmament of intrigue. He had come seeking vengeance. Now the throne itself placed the dagger in his palm. The Ravenscourt hall smelled of dust and parchment when Oberyn convened his first small council. He let the Lannisters arrive before him. Cersei took the regency seat to Tommen's right, though she possessed no formal place at council. But Tywin's edict rendered such concerns moot. Grand Maester Pycelle dozed upright within his cups. Lord Varys unfolded his pink hands as though warming them above diplomatic embers. The Master of Ships, Paxter Redwine, studied ledgers, and Mace Tyrell, newly minted Lord Regent of Coin, perched like an overfed robin, chest puffed with trivial triumph. Oberyn entered last, escorted by his daughters. He felt their presence steel his spine. The council glanced uneasily at the Dornish shadows now cast across their tapestry of power. "We must speak of justice," Oberyn began, voice a slow pour of summer wine. "My sister Elia and her children were butchered. Today, 6 men, the very guards sworn to protect the princess chambers, sleep in gold-threaded cloaks within the barracks. They drink Lannister wines and boast of heroic war tales. Shall we toast their valor, Lord Tywin?" Tywin's gaze neither flinched nor faltered. "I have already offered you satisfaction, and yet their hearts still beat." Oberyn's smile widened, showing the hint of viper's fang. A curious form of satisfaction. To leave poison in the wound. Mace Tyrell cleared his throat. "Prince Oberyn, we gather to deliberate coinage deficits, not old enmities." Obara slammed the butt of her spear upon marble. "Old enmities carve new graves. Gold cloaks cannot bribe the dead." Oberyn raised his hand slightly. Obara subsided. "Let us begin with coin. For coin purchases swords, and swords enforce justice. I propose a levy upon those houses enriched by war, chiefly the Lannisters, and reparation to Dorne for the blood of its princess." Cersei laughed, low and brittle. "You would tax the crown's own coffers? I would tax your father's mines until the mountain beneath Casterly Rock collapses in upon itself, if that price buys truth." Tywin's fingers drummed once upon the oak. "The crown's debts already exceed its revenue. If you bleed the rock, you bleed the throne. Blood, then for blood." Oberyn's gaze settled on Varys. "Spider, what word from Isenbar? Is the tattered prince yet alive?" Varys inclined his head. "He sails the stepstones, my prince, though his appetite exceeds his coin. A Sellsword's loyalty might be purchased with sufficient gold. Then gold we shall find." Oberyn leaned forward. "A Sellsword does not abide by Lannister oaths. He shall speak of what he saw on the day my sister died. Let the realm hear the tale from an unbroken tongue." Quiet fell. Even Pycelle opened one rheumy eye. Tywin studied the Dornishmen. Recruiting mercenaries to slander loyal knights is unbecoming of a hand. "Knights!" Oberyn's voice turned silk over steel. "Sires? Or slaughterers?" Beneath the table Tywin's calf brushed Mace Tyrell's foot. The fat lord shrank in his cloak. Oberyn saw and stored the gesture. Every flicker of fear, every swallowed protest, they were chessmen poised for toppling. He savored it like cloves on the tongue. Night in the Red Keep coaxed phantoms from stone. Oberyn scented burning cedar on the wind as torches guttered in the hall outside his solar. He poured a ruby stream of arbor red into 2 slender cups and waited until the door creaked. Varys glided in on slippered feet, robes whispering like distant tides. "You asked for candor, my prince." The eunuch accepted the cup. "Shall we trade secrets as children trade dolls?" Oberyn drank first, the wine a burst of warmth against healing ribs. "Tell me where Gregor Clegane lies." "In the black cells beneath Maegor's holdfast. The maesters drain pus by lamplight while Pycelle mutters of dark arts to assuage the poison you gifted." Varys sipped modestly. Your spearhead was laced, was it not? One does not fell a mountain with wooden shafts alone. Oberyn toyed with the cup's rim. Venom is impartial, cares not for titles. And yet you spared his life long enough for confession. Admirable restraint. Not restraint, strategy. Oberyn's smile flared. He speaks soon or he dies. Either outcome feeds my purpose. Varys inclined his shiny head. A confession might shake the rock itself. Then tremble it shall. Varys set down the cup. You seek retribution for Elia. I wonder what then? Vengeance is cold comfort when the flame burns out. Then let the flame never die. Varys regarded him in silence, as though studying a creature of legend. Fire may warm, but unchecked, it consumes. Oberyn rose, cloak whispering. I did not come to warm the city, Spider. I came to burn rot from its heart. If King's Landing survives the blaze, perhaps it will be worth the name capital of the Seven Kingdoms. He gestured toward the door. Tell your little birds the hand shall require their songs at dawn. When Varys departed, the room felt smaller, the night pressing close. Oberyn poured another cup and lifted it in a silent toast to his sister's memory. The wine glimmered like garnet, like spilled heart's blood. He drank deep and planned deeper. Dawn painted the narrow sea in shimmering rose when a raven thundered into the rookery, claws gouging slate. Its scroll bore the whirlpool seal of House Harlaw. The Ironborn had raided off Cape Wrath and vanished again. Oberyn stood at the parapet, hair unbound in the sea wind, reading the missive while Grand Maester Pycelle wheezed beside him. War comes from all corners, Oberyn murmured. Yet the lion closes its eyes and licks its own wounds. Pycelle dabbed sweat from his jowls. We are stretched thin, my lord. The Reach supplies wheat, but our coffers are chained by Myrish bankers. Yes, yes. Oberyn dismissed him with a flick of parchment. Send ravens to Sunspear. Tell Prince Doran to mobilize 10,000 spears to the Dornish marches. Let the Stormlands see our banners. If the Ironborn wish salt, we'll give them sand. Pycelle's eyes bulged. The Council. I am the Council, Oberyn said, stepping past. Advise Lord Tywin to join us at midday. We shall discuss how best to bleed stone into gold. The solar assigned to the hand soon overflowed with documents, spies' notes, ledgers, and maps. Nymeria Sand sorted letters into neat piles, annotating in a sharp, flowing script. Elia Sand cross-referenced coin tallies, her brow furrowed in concentration. Obara drilled their men outside, every clash of spears echoing up the walls like war drums. Oberyn dictated to a scribe in Valyrian, drafting edicts that punished graft among the gold cloaks, restructured tariffs on Myrish silks, and, in hidden subclauses, diverted funds away from Lannister creditors toward a secret Dornish war chest. Each stroke was a blade slid between Tywin's ribs, imperceptible for now, fatal in due course. When dusk bled across the high windows, a page announced Lord Mace Tyrell. Oberyn dismissed the scribes. Mace waddled inside, cheeks ruddy with apprehension. My prince, he began, mopping his brow. This levy upon the Reach, the tariffs on wine, grain, winter roses. My bannermen cry foul. Oberyn offered him a goblet. The Reach is lush. Surely a petal or two may fall without spoiling the bloom. Mace sniffed the wine suspiciously. We have guaranteed the capital's bread. Yet now you raise tolls on every sack crossing their borders. Bread feeds bellies. Coin feeds the throne. Oberyn leaned in. And should you comply, perhaps a Martell Tyrell marriage might be arranged. My eldest daughter, Obara. Mace paled, imagining spear calluses at his banquet table. We shall consider your proposal. Do. Consider swiftly. Oberyn's gaze sharpened. Tell Lady Olenna I admire roses that bloom amidst thorns. Mace made his exits, and Oberyn exhaled. One petal plucked, a dozen yet to sever. But this garden of politics would soon bear Dornish fruit. Beneath the keep's belly, torches guttered in stagnant air as Oberyn descended toward the black cells. Two silent brothers accompanied him, sworn to the stranger. The flicker of flame made shadows writhe upon vermilion walls. The stench of infection preceded the mountain's breathing. Ragged, wet, like bellows stuffed with rot. Maester Qyburn leaned over the great bulk, syringe glinting. "Prince Oberyn." Qyburn bowed. "He fades but slowly. Your venom is potent." Oberyn studied the twitching giant. Gregor's skin bubbled purple, eyes bulging from lids, pus-crusted. "Does he speak?" "Not words," Qyburn admitted, "but grunts. Yet I can make tongues wag." Something in Qyburn's smile sent even Oberyn's seasoned heart skipping. "Whatever you do, master," he said, "secure his confession before death claims him. Write every word. A trial of ravens shall spread his guilt across the realm." "I have other treatments," Qyburn murmured. "To preserve him." Oberyn raised a brow. "Preserve the truth, not the monster. As you command." He turned away, but Gregor's gaze, or what remained of it, seemed to follow. There was no recognition, only the blind, animal terror of a beast caught in its own blood. Oberyn left that pit feeling light, as though each gasping breath of the mountain siphoned away a measure of Eliah's torment. Weeks passed in a whirl of parchments and swordplay. Tommen's name day approached, and Oberyn seized the celebration to display Dornish pageantry. Flooding the throne room with silk banners of sun and spear, exotic dancers from the Shadow City moved among courtiers, their ankles chiming like silver rain. Tyrell envoys arrived bearing wagons of rose-gold goblets. Lannister cousins offered crimson satin. From Sunspear came a single carved heartsbane with chest. Inside, a scorpion carved of obsidian, its sting tipped with crystallized basilisk venom. Oberyn placed it atop the gift stack, a silent motif for the festivities. During the feast, he noted every smile Tywin forced, every flicker of Cersei's jealousy as the court laughed at Dornish jests. In Tommen's small, genuine grin, Oberyn glimpsed the innocence the realm so casually crushed. When the boy requested Oberyn's presence at the dais, the prince knelt gracefully, ignoring the tug of pain. "Will you teach me the spear, sire?" Tommen asked, voice bright. Oberyn smiled. "A prince of roses should learn all weapons, but first learn justice." Tommen's eyes shone. "I will." Cersei's hand gripped the back of the boy's throne. Oberyn rose and caught her stare. She saw the future he sculpted and feared its shape. On the morning Qyburn delivered a parchment of Gregor's slurred confession, naming Ser Amory Lorch, Ser Island Payne, and implicating Tywin in the sacking of the city. Oberyn summoned the small council. He spread the stained parchment like a tapestry of rot upon the ebony table. Tywin's jaw tightened but did not slacken. Mace Tyrell stammered. Pycelle wept. Cersei hissed. Varys merely observed. "By law of gods and men," Oberyn proclaimed, "those named shall answer before the realm. Let ravens fly to every castle. Let judgment be public." Tywin's voice emerged cold as obsidian. "You seek to destroy my house." "I seek truth," Oberyn said, "which is your house's doom only if you built it upon lies." Paxter Redwine shifted. "What of the Iron Throne's stability? Stripping the hand's household of knights." "I am the hand," Oberyn reminded, "and I shall replace traitors with men of honor." Cersei laughed, brittle. "Honor? You mean Dornish Cellspears." "Dornish warriors," Oberyn corrected. "Or perhaps Northmen. Lord Warden of the North deserves representation." Tywin's eyes narrowed. "You would call the Stark boy?" "I would call any lord who bleeds for justice. Ned Stark died for honor. Let his eldest, Robb, testify." Oberyn paused. "If the young wolf still breathes." Pycelle shuddered. "He was slain at the Twins." "So they say." Oberyn's smile held secrets, but ravens whisper otherwise. "Regardless, the North remembers." He tapped the parchment. "The mountain's words shall echo across the realm. Let us see which walls stumble." After the council broke in disarray, Tywin remained. "You play at crosses and spears, Martell, but war is not a game." Oberyn met his gaze. "For you, perhaps. For me, it is life." Tywin's voice lowered. Dorne will burn before Lannister pride bows. Then we shall dance in the ashes, you and I. That night, thunder split the sky. Storm clouds rolled over Blackwater Bay, waves beating stone with mournful cadence. In Oberyn Solar, Nymeria reported Redwine sailors spotted Tyrell galleys withdrawing from the harbor, a sign of Tywin's covert alliance fraying already. Obara revealed gold cloaks questioning merchants about the mountain's confession. As Oberyn expected, the news spread like wildfire. He dispatched sand snakes across the city, Tyene to unravel the faith militants' zeal, Sarella to subvert the Alchemists' Guild, Obara to train the impoverished in spear fighting. "Give them hope," he said, "and the lions shall find their own walls besieged." When morning came, a riot of color unfolded beyond the walls. Common folk wearing red sashes, the colors of Dorne, tying sunburst cloths around their arms. They cheered as Oberyn rode through the mud gate on a golden sand steed. Beside him, a young messenger girl from Flea Bottom brandished a wooden spear taller than herself. The prince slowed his horse. "Who taught you that grip?" "Ser Obara," the girl declared proudly. Oberyn chuckled. "Then you are in good hands." Inside the keep, however, lines hardened. Lannister guards replaced half their watch with sellswords from the Golden Company, recently arrived on quiet ships. Tywin's move. Oberyn penned letters to bravos, promising repayment of crown debts within 5 years in exchange for exclusive Dornish shipping rights, a web of trade to choke Lannister coffers further. Yet amidst plots and portents, one letter pierced him deeper than poison. From Sunspear, Prince Doran reported tremors along the sand road, raiders wearing black and gold harried caravans, Clegane men seeking vengeance. Gregor's march to death had birthed new mountains. Oberyn's brow furrowed. Justice spawned backlash. He must weather the storm. Full confession publicly read in the dragon pit drew thousands. Oberyn stood upon the dais beside the Iron Throne. Tommen absent, Cersei sequestered him for safety. Qyburn unrolled the parchment. His voice echoed across broken dragon skulls. Gasps turned to shouts. Daggers flashed in eyes of small folk who heard their queen's father named Butcher. Soldiers escorted the accused knights, heads bowed, chains rattling. Oberyn spared them no pity. When Qyburn finished, silence hung. Tywin stepped forward. "These accusations arise from a dying man's delirium, extorted by sedition. House Lannister denies them." Oberyn raised a single finger. The High Septon emerged, holding aloft a toned vial of 7-lensed crystal. "Ser Gregor's blood," he intoned, "sworn to the Mother's mercy." The sample bore Qyburn's signature, sealed before witnesses. It confirmed poison of rare manticore, the Viper's Fang. Evidence, yes, but more spectacle. The crowd erupted, some cheering, some roaring in anger. Oberyn addressed them. "A trial by confession need not turn to battle. Yet if Lord Tywin doubts truth, he may champion his cause. One last duel between lion and viper." Tywin's eyes glittered. "I do not dance to Dornish tunes." "Then stand aside," Oberyn said. "The stranger guides your road." The crown's watchers, small folk, knights, even a few nobles disillusioned with Lannister arrogance, sensed the shifting winds. Tywin retreated, pride intact but power fraying. That night banners of Lannister crimson were torn from tavern walls, replaced by scraps of sun and spear. The War of Whispers became a war of blades when a cloaked group ambushed Oberyn at Maegor's Holdfast Stair. Obara's spear skewered one attacker through the throat. Nymeria's knives flashed silver, but a crossbow bolt hissed from shadow, striking Oberyn's arm. He staggered, bellowing. Guards rallied, but Nymeria dragged him to safety. The wound bled dark, but no venom this time. As the maester stitched flesh, Oberyn's rage boiled. "Fetch me the Golden Company's captains," he ordered, "and Tywin's steward." When men stood, shackled, before him, he offered them a simple choice: swear fealty to the hand and renounce Lannister coin, or lose the hands that clutch it. Most bent knee, swayed by the city's mood and the promise of Dornish gold. Those few who refused lost fingers and found themselves cast into the black cells. Across the sea, news reached Aegon VI, the supposed dragon prince, of Lannister weakness and a Dornish hand. Rumors stirred. Weeks bled into months. Oberyn's reforms bit deeper. Equal tariffs, legal protections for bastards, funding for orphanages where war's cast-offs roamed. The small folk adored him. The nobility chafed. Tywin retreated to his chambers, drafting letters into the black hours, summoning bannermen, only to lose ravens to knives in the night. Cersei drank more heavily. Varys watched like a patient spider amid shifting threads. In secret, Oberyn corresponded with Daenerys Targaryen across the narrow sea. He promised alliances, Dorne's loyalty in exchange for justice, and ships to ferry her unsullied should she seek the throne. A dragon queen might scorch away the last Lannister stain, but first he must secure the boy on the throne. Tommen's innocence shielded from lion claws must become a lion of his own. Oberyn enlisted Ser Balon Swan to train him, instilling chivalry beyond Lannister pride. He told Tommen stories of Elia, of Rhaenys and Aegon slain. The boy wept. "My grandfather did this? The throne did this," Oberyn whispered. "Those who would keep it by any means. Then I will be a just king," Tommen vowed. The words humbled Oberyn more than triumph did. For in them he heard the faint echo of a child's promise long silenced. His sister's daughter, pleading for mercy before cold steel. One autumn evening, as leaves rusted on the King's Road oaks, Tywin summoned Oberyn privately. The Lord of Casterly Rock dismissed guards. Only candlelight and the echo of their breaths kept company. "You have broken the lion's jaw," Tywin said, "but a wounded beast is most dangerous." Oberyn sipped wine, careful with his healed ribs. "Best put it down, then. You have your justice. Take Dorne's reparation and quit the capital. Leave me to mend what you have shattered." Oberyn's laugh rang like steel on steel. "This city was broken long before I set foot within it. You built its throne upon bones. I but sweep away carrion." Tywin's gaze hooded. "You believe yourself savior. The realm sees only chaos. The realm sees truth." Tywin stood. "Very well. I resign my seat on the council. But remember, every action brings equal reaction. When dragons return, you will mourn the ashes." Oberyn inclined his head. "Perhaps, but they will be clean ashes." Tywin left him in silence, and though Oberyn felt a tremor of foreboding, he welcomed it, for fear sharpened resolve. The first winter snows drifted across Blackwater Bay like pale ghosts when Raven reports spoke of banners gathering in the west. House Lannister, reinforced by Frey levies and the remnants of Stannis' defeated host, now under New Sel's-word leadership. They marched not on King's Landing but on Riverrun, yet their real aim was clear: flank the capital, siege from river and sea. The small council convened at dawn. Oberyn dispatched Ser Bronn with gold to buy off the Freys. Varys suggested sowing dissent through Ravenborn slander, accusing Walder Frey of plotting against Lannisters. Meanwhile, Oberyn planned defense. Dornish spears under Nymeria's command would sail north along the coast, disembarking at Duskendale to reinforce the Crownlands. Tyrell forces rallied to defend the Reach, uncertain yet unwilling to leave King's Landing unguarded until Margaery's marriage to Tommen. In the midst of strategy, a raven arrived from Winterfell. It bore the direwolf sigil, sealed with black wax broken by frost. The letter, penned by Lady Sansa Stark in a delicate yet resolute hand, pledged northern neutrality provided justice for her family's murderers continued. Oberyn saw potential. A northern alliance could strangle Lannister power forever. He wrote back, offering seat on the small council for the North, guarantee of autonomy, and a marriage alliance. Perhaps between Nymeria Sand and a Stark cousin. Politics over love, but the realm demanded its dues. When the first confrontation with Tywin's forces erupted at the Gold Road's fork, Oberyn watched from Horse Hill. Dornish spears, Tyrell knights, and gold-cloaked deserters rallied under the sun and spear banner. The Lannister host advanced, red cloaks billowing beneath gray skies heavy with snow. Horns brayed, cavalry thundered. Oberyn's ribs ached, memory of battle long past. Yet he would not command from safety. He rode Sleipnir, a sand steed, spear held aloft. Oberyn raced at his side, eyes alight with battle joy. The armies clashed, steel against steel, shield against spear. Amidst chaos, Oberyn glimpsed Jaime Lannister leading a charge, golden armor shining. Their eyes locked. One moment, one heartbeat, shared understanding of war. But no duel came. The swirl of men swallowed them apart. Tyrell knights broke Lannister center. Dornish infantry flanked. Arrows rained. By dusk, red cloaks lay strewn like crushed poppies. Jaime surrendered rather than perish. Tywin's son's capture shattered morale. Oberyn watched prisoners kneel in snow-stained pink. He thought of Elaya's blood, vibrant upon tower stones. Justice had eaten deeply, but never enough. In victory's wake, he returned to King's Landing not to cheers but to whispers. Varys met him at the gates, eyes flicking like candle flames. "Tywin is dead." The spider's voice quivered. Oberyn froze. "How?" "In his privy," Varys murmured. Crossbow bolt through the heart. "They say Tyrion." He trailed off. Oberyn tasted ash. "Lion cub devours lion king. It unravels your war." "Perhaps," Oberyn admitted, "or seals it." Cersei's grief turned to wildfire. She accused Tyrion of patricide, demanded heads. Jaime remained hostage. Tommen's crown sat precarious. The realm teetered. Oberyn stood at its fulcrum, spear planted, heart pounding. All his machinations, all his quest for justice, had toppled the lion. Yet the world spun on. Could peace be forged from the shards? He gazed over the city walls at the setting sun, blood-red across rooftops. Somewhere beyond the bitter sea, dragons stirred. Oberyn Martell, Hand of the King, Prince of Dorne, Breaker of Lions, felt destiny's claws closing, urging him onward through dusk into the long night. And thus, beneath the darkening sky, the Viper prepared for the next coil. Gray light seeped into the royal apartments as dawn battled clouds swollen with snow, and Oberyn Martell stood barefoot on the chill stone balcony outside his solar, eyes fixed on the smudge of black sails far out in Blackwater Bay. Night's frost rimed the balustrade, and each breath left a plume that curled into nothingness. He thought of Tywin's corpse, stiffening even now beneath a silken shroud, and of Tyrion vanished into the maze of midnight alleys. One lion slain, another fled, a third shackled. Yet the beast itself still prowled, wounded, deadlier for it. The city hummed with rumor, the air itself thick with the copper tang of upheaval. Inside, a low fire crackled. Nymeria sand hunched over the map-strewn table where red wax markers indicated Lannister musters retreating toward the Golden Tooth, while Dornish columns marched north along the Strangler's Road. Oberyn stood near the door, polishing the edge of her spear with oiled cloth. The rhythmic rasp matched the pulse that hammered in Oberyn's temples. He turned from the balcony. The sails? Nymeria didn't look up. Braavosi envoys, 2 cogs and a war galley. They carry the Iron Bank sigils. Not enemy, then, Oberyn grunted without lifting her gaze. Yet not quite friend. Coin flows only toward advantage. Oberyn flexed fingers that still remembered the sting of last night's bolt. The stitches itched, a dull reminder. Coin will flow toward justice if we make justice profitable. "You intend to renegotiate the crown's debts before midday?" Nymeria asked, scratching a note beside Duskendale. Before the Braavosi finished their morning tea. He crossed to the brazier, warmed his hands, and felt each bone sing. "We present a realm newly stabilized and a hand who honors his words. They will lend, and we will bleed Lannisters to pay." Oberyn slid the spear into its backsheath. "Assuming Cersei does not immolate the hall and us within it before the ink dries." "Cersei is a blaze of grief and pride," Oberyn said. "We will douse her with indifference. Attention feeds fire. Neglect starves it." A knock sounded. Qyburn entered, cradling a small lacquered box bound with 3 iron clasps. "My prince." His smile was thin, devout. Ser Gregor breathed still, but only just. I have extracted a measure of confession beyond parchment. Oberyn's eyes flicked to the box. Open it. Qyburn laid it upon the table, released the clasps. Inside, on a cushion of black velvet, lay a single severed tongue, gray at the root, the tip purpled. A small bronze tag dangled from a thread, Aelwyn Payne etched in minute letters. The scent of vinegar and clove rose sharp and medicinal. Oberyn's nostrils flared. You harvest trophies like a crow. Evidence, Qyburn corrected softly. Ser Eilen proved more amenable to discourse once mute. He confirmed Ser Amory cleaved the babe in twain and caved the princess' skull with his mailed fist. Ser Eilen held the door. His eyes gleamed. Nothing quickens memory like steel at the gums. Oberyn closed the box. Send ravens bearing copies of these statements to every sept and hall from the arbor to the wall. Let the realm choke on Lannister truth. Qyburn bowed. And what of Ser Eilen himself? Keep him alive, Oberyn said. A living tongue can yet write. He turned to Nymeria. Draft my reply to the Iron Bank. We pledge 1/10 of all future tariffs on Braavosi shipping, 5% of Reach wine duties, and the Lannister iron mines as collateral for overdue loans. Add that House Martell guarantees the note. Nymeria's quill scratched. Oberyn frowned. You offer more skin than we possess. We offer skin the lions cannot shed, Oberyn replied. When debt binds rock to throne, Lannisters will obey or lose their gold veins. A commotion echoed beyond the door. Boot steps, metal clatter, the low growl of a hound. Oberyn nodded. Oberyn eased the portal open. Ser Balon Swan stepped in, helm under arm, cloak dusted with frost. Behind him bounded Ser Pounce, Tommen's fat ginger cat, and the boy king himself in plain wool, cheeks ruddy from the cold. Tommen bowed. Lord Hand, Mother says Maester Pycelle must preside over father's burial at sunset. I wish you there as well. Oberyn knelt, ignoring the protest in his knees. As you command, your grace. He studied the boy's eyes. Still soft, but there was steel budding in the iris. And afterward? I must address the realm, Tommen whispered. Can you help me write words of comfort? Oberyn rose. We shall write them together. Justice must dress itself in mercy. Tommen nodded, petting the cat. Mother says mercy is for the weak. Mercy, Oberyn countered gently, is for the strong. Only the powerful may afford to be kind. The boy pondered. Then I'll be powerful. He straightened his small shoulders. Ser Balon trains me daily. I can strike the Pell 10 times in a row. He shows promise, Swan confirmed with a wry grin. Oberyn placed a hand on Tommen's pauldron. Strength of arm, yes, but also strength here. He tapped the boy's temple. When you speak tonight, remember the faces of every soul who toils beneath these walls. Speak to them as if they were kin. I will try, Tommen said. Will you stand beside me? Always, Oberyn promised. The Iron Bank delegation assembled in the Tower of the Hand before midday. Anasis Noho, gaunt and tall in black damask, Tycho Nestoris, bearded and mild, and a scribe named Vera, ink-stained fingers clutching ledgers like holy texts. They bowed, but not low. Gold bends for no man. Oberyn received them wearing a simple chamois jerkin, vacant of ornament save the ruby hand brooch. He poured Lysini pear brandy, let its fumes braid with the delegation's perfume of parchment and sea salt. His grace mourns, Oberyn began. Yet the crown endures. Our coffers suffer only from past misrule. I offer terms to guarantee the kingdom's solvency. Tycho appraised him with dark, amused eyes. The Iron Bank does not gamble. Nor do I, Oberyn replied. A Martell's word is sand-carved. It does not shift with tides. He gestured to Nymeria, who slid the parchment forward. Sign, and within a moon's turn the first bar of gold sails to Braavos. Anasis Noho traced the seal. House Lannister mined more metal than all others combined. Yet you, now hold their veins, Oberyn finished. A dead lion cannot roar. A living lion roars only if we let him breathe. Silent calculation stiffened Tycho's jaw. He set a small iron stamp upon wax. The Iron Bank accepts, but fail, and the Iron Bank will have its due, Oberyn said softly, even if it must send faceless men to collect my own. He lifted the parchment, blew the wax cool, and offered a thin smile. Now we are partners. The bankers withdrew. Nymeria slumped in her chair. One misstep and we drown. Oberyn drained his brandy. Then we shall dance atop the waves. Twilight draped the city in violet when the funeral procession wound up Visenya's hill. Cersei led, bathed in widow's black, but her face held no tears, only Fury's mask. Behind the bier marched gold cloaks in double ranks, 6 war horns sounding low dirges. Courtiers trailed like dull moths. In the Sept's great nave, ranks of candles flickered. Marble lions lined the aisle, their stone eyes glistening. Tywin's body lay within a casket of Myrish glass, armor polished to mirror, face serene in counterfeit peace. Oberyn stood at Tommen's right. The boy's knuckles whitened about the reins of composure. Cersei approached the lectern, but Grand Maester Pycelle blocked her path, tottering. Her grace speaks first, Cersei hissed. His grace, Oberyn corrected, voice low but cutting. Tommen flinched. Then he breathed, stepped forward. My lords, ladies, small folk. The boy began, voice thin yet clear. We lay to rest Lord Tywin Lannister, who served the realm his whole life. He paused, as Oberyn had coached, letting loss echo. I pledge to lead with wisdom, strength, and justice, so that none may fear the crown's might, only trust its mercy. A hush fell. In honor of Lord Tywin, I decree a remission of 1 year's tax upon the small folk of the Crownlands, and I invite men of every land to serve this court, no matter birth. Gasps rippled. Cersei's lips peeled back. He is a child, she barked. A king, Oberyn said, the word resonant. Candles trembled though no wind stirred. He felt the city pivot, subtle as a needle shifting north. After Pycelle's blessing and perfumed smoke, Cersei seized Tommen's arm en route to the exit. You humiliate your grandfather, she snarled, low enough for few to hear. Tommen swallowed. Mercy, mother, for the people. They will devour you. Oberyn intercepted, bowing. Your grace must rest before Dawn's council. Cersei glared past him, but Tywin's silvered visage reflected in the glass coffin behind, a mute reminder that even lions perish. She released the boy with a hiss and swept away. Tommen exhaled. Oberyn guided him toward the royal stair. Each step echoed like a forging hammer. Well spoken, he murmured. I thought the words would shake apart, Tommen confessed. But they held. Truth holds, Oberyn said, even against claws. Winter's breath intensified. Rime fanned across the Blackwater. Boats moored near the quays bore icicles like dragon's teeth. Night fires glimmered along the city walls as Dornish and Reachmen shared watch, suspicion thawing under mutual need. In the Tower of the Hand, Oberyn convened a midnight parley with 2 figures cloaked against the chill. One was Margaery Tyrell, her perfume subtle as spring bloom amid frosted air. The other, Brienne of Tarth, towering, solemn, her blue cloak patched from battle. Margaery inclined her head. You summoned, my lord? Oberyn indicated chairs by the hearth. Speak freely, walls have ears, but tonight they belong to me. Margaery sat, smoothing skirts. Brienne remained standing. Ser Jaime is held near Rosby, she said. As you must know. I intend a trade, Oberyn replied. Your loyalty for his life. Brienne frowned. He is more honorable than those lions who wronged you. I have no quarrel with Jaime, only with the system that forged him. Oberyn poured mulled wine. Your liege house covets security. I offer it. The Iron Bank's renewal secures the realm's credit, but grain still flows from the Reach. Tommen trusts you. Marry him when the moon turns. Become his queen. Margaery's lashes fluttered. Cersei will hurl wildfire. Cersei soon will face a tribunal, Oberyn said. For conspiracy, obstruction, perhaps worse. The faith shall judge, not I. He let that settle. When she falls, the realm needs a queen beloved by the people. And the price? Marjorie asked softly. Send 2 hosts north to Riverrun to check the Freys and Lannisters. Harvest continues despite war. My sand snakes hold the marches. We protect your supply lines. Show the city your generosity. Open soup kitchens, distribute blankets. Mercy breeds loyalty. Marjorie's smile glowed like candlelight. A queen of hearts, then. A queen of strategy. Oberyn sipped. The realm is aboard. Let us move pieces together. Brienne cleared her throat. What of Ser Jaime? A fair ransom. When Riverrun stands free, he returns. He may yet serve the king with honor. Brienne's eyes softened. He will keep his word. I know, Oberyn said. That is why he is worth saving, Sir. Say's tribunal convened 2 weeks later in the Dragon Pit, beneath stone ribs dusted with snow. High Septon Bonero presided, scripture clasped. The charges: misuse of crown funds, incitement of treason, conspiracy to murder the hand. Evidence: letters seized from Pycelle's coffer, confessions from gold cloaks bribed to loose crossbow bolts in the stair. Cersei denied all with venomous grace. Oberyn watched, arms folded. Beside him, Varys whispered, Fate turns swift wheels. She greased them, Oberyn murmured. Testimony lasted hours. When Obara described the ambush that left Oberyn wounded, she dropped the pierced bolt on the tribunal table. Lannister forging, she declared. Lion sigil beneath fletching. Cersei flung her chains, eyes blazing. Forgeries. The High Septon intoned sentences. Penance, atonement, surrender of regency. To Oberyn's surprise, no imprisonment. The faith favored mercy to spare the realm continued upheaval. She was confined to Maegor's holdfast under guard. Nonetheless, she spat toward the Septon's sandals, eyes dark with prophecy of vengeance. When guards led her away, Tommen watched in silent agony, cheeks wet though he made no sound. Oberyn knelt beside him. Justice balances mercy. You will see her again. I wanted to save her, Tommen whispered. Save the realm first. Oberyn squeezed his shoulder. Then heal wounds one by one. Word reached the city that Aegon VI, styled Young Griff, had landed at Storm's End with Golden Company and Rhoynar volunteer cohorts. Rumor claimed he bore the sword Blackfire, reclaimed from Lys. Some lords bent knee, others waited. Oberyn convened council. Paxter Redwine urged immediate parley. Mace Tyrell demanded the usurper's head. Varys counseled caution, eyes shining with secret satisfaction. Pycelle wheezed platitudes. Tommen looked to Oberyn. The hand leaned over the map. We do not yet know if he is Targaryen or Trinket. We send envoys. Lady Olenna, who sniffs falsehood like rot. Meanwhile, Dorne's fleet sails to the Stepstones, blocking Lysene reinforcements. 2 wars at once? Mace fretted. Better 2 small wars now than 1 great war later, Oberyn said. Cut sprouts before they root. Tommen nodded. Make it so. Night settled heavy when Oberyn slipped through the tunnels beneath the Red Keep, torch sputtering in sconces green with damp. A lone hooded figure awaited in a cellar alcove. Tyrion Lannister, dirt-flecked, eyes sunken but alight with mischief. You keep strange pets, Oberyn observed. Tyrion smirked. And you keep stranger enemies. Some become allies. Oberyn leaned against a cask. Did you fire that bolt? Tyrion's grin faded. Aye, my father died shitting gold. I'd statues erected of that pose if I had coin. You realize the realm teeters because of your vengeance. The realm teetered long before, Tyrion retorted. I only kicked the wheel. Oberyn tossed him a wineskin. Tyrion gulped, wiped lips. Why summon me? Hoping to parade my head. Your wit outweighs your crimes, Oberyn said. Serve the king. Advise on coin and words. A brain like yours rots in exile. Tyrion laughed harshly. You want the imp as master of whisperers? Varys already sits that chair, Oberyn said. You will be master of quills. Draft policy, decode ledgers, expose graft. You loathe hypocrisy. Let's weaponize that. Tyrion considered. Am I pardoned? When the wars end, Oberyn promised. You will stand trial before a council of commoners. Speak truth. They decide. Until then, you serve. Serve or die, Tyrion mused.
A familiar tune.
He extended a grubby hand. Oberyn clasped it. Very well, my prince. Let's try sanity for a change. Madness is simply unrewarding strategy, Oberyn quipped. They parted with quiet understanding. Two men forged by loss, shaping a realm with jagged tools. Green shoots pierced snowmelt along the King's Road when Marjorie's charity wagons rolled into Flea Bottom. Bread, cheese, small casks of cider, stacks of wool blankets dyed Tyrell gold. The small folk cheered, chanting her name. Dornish patrols kept order. No gold cloaks in sight. In the throne room, Tommen announced her betrothal. Trumpets flared. Roses rained from balconies. Oberyn noted the shift. Skepticism replaced by hope, hunger tempered by gratitude. In private, Tycho Nestoris commended the stability. The Iron Bank released the first tranche of coin. The crown minted new silver stags bearing Tommen's youthful profile on one face, the Martell sun and spear on the other, symbol of the hand. Small folk dubbed them vipers. Better a viper in pocket than a lion at throat, they joked. Oberyn cherished the barb. Yet war still brewed. At Riverrun, Jaime's exchange slowed. Freys vacillated, uneasy under rumors that Walder's sons plotted patricide. In the west, Kevin Lannister mustered loyalists near Lannisport, but lacked funds to field more than local levies. Reports spoke of Sells-Words deserting at word of the crown honoring debts. Then came a raven bound in black ribbon. Castle Black beseeched aid. The Night's Watch dwindled. Wildlings massed at the Frostfangs. Rangers whispered of white shadows. Oberyn read the scroll aloud to Tommen. Snow drifted outside, though it was spring. Winter rides from the north, he warned. We quarrel while ice gathers. Tommen rubbed his temples. The Watch safeguarded us for thousands of years. We must send aid. Half the realm denies their peril, Oberyn said. But we shall act. Summon Davos Seaworth. Stannis is dead, but Davos commands loyalty of many Northmen. He will sail victuals to Eastwatch if we provide ships. Do it, Tommen agreed, and send maesters with ravens trained to carry messages through blizzards. Oberyn smiled. Compassion is strength. Throughout summer's false blush, Oberyn traveled the Crownlands in progress, Tommen and Marjorie at his side. They visited potters' villages, lentils farms, weavers' cottages. Oberyn listened, scribes recording grievances. Taxes too harsh, harvests spoilt by locusts, bandits roaming the Kingswood. He dispensed judgments beneath elm trees, blending Dornish custom with undull law. Restitution over retribution, fines shared between crown and victim, trials by witness not duel. Some lords bristled, yet common folk praised, calling him Hand of the Humble. The moniker spread. Back at court, Tyrion uncovered Casterly Rock's ledgers. Vaults nearly empty, gold veins thinning. He presented his findings at council, relishing the horror in former Lion allies. Oberyn ordered emergency minting of bronze pennies stamped with the sunburst, tied to Dornish pepper export value. Inflation risked, but copper mines near High Hermitage thrummed. Varys whispered of plots. Qyburn reanimating abominations in black cells, Cersei bribing Septas to poison Marjorie, Kevin courting Euron Greyjoy for an alliance. Oberyn countered each scheme, exposing letters, rerouting shipments, setting traps with false promises. Yet the game escalated, pieces scattering wider. Then Daenerys Targaryen's fleet appeared off Dorne's coast, sails painted with three-headed dragons, black and red. Princess Pass ravens bore tidings. She sought audience with Oberyn and King Tommen. Dragons soared above Sunspear's sky. Oberyn rode south with Nymeria, Obara, Varys, and 100 spears. The journey consumed 3 weeks, across sand and salt flats, through ghost grass shimmering silver. At the Water Gardens, Daenerys awaited, hair pale as moonlit surf, eyes like molten amethyst. Beside her stood Grey Worm and Missandei. Behind, 2 dragons shimmered, shadows rippling. They greeted beneath orange trees. Oberyn bowed low. "Your Grace." Daenerys studied him. "Many counsel me to burn King's Landing, yet stories reach me of a hand who champions justice." "Burn truth and you become false," Oberyn said. She regarded the spear etched with Valyrian glyphs. "You killed the mountain, and his legend." "I lost a dragon in Meereen," she murmured.
"Legends die, Pein endures."
Oberyn gestured toward a fountain. They walked among rainbow-flashing carp. "Join us. Marry your dragons to the realm. Tommen is young. He will bend knee for peace, keep his crown as prince consort. You claim the Iron Throne. I serve you both. Crown 3 heads," Daenerys mused. "Ice, fire, sun." She watched water trickle over marble. "And Cersei, she ignites her own pyre." He met her gaze. "Let her burn from within." Daenerys' smile was a blade. "I will sail at moonrise. Let the city prepare a harbor large enough for dragons." News of the Dragon Queen's approach tore through King's Landing like stormwind. Small folk cheered. Dragons promised bread and spectacle. Nobles panicked. Dragons promised change and fire. Tyrion drank heavily. Varys glided, pleased. Marjorie weighed crowns and found them equal if she remained beloved. Oberyn wrote edicts. Harbor fees waived, wildfire stores sealed, bells rehearsed to sound welcome, not alarm. He stationed Dornish archers atop the city walls with orders to lower bows. Banners of sun and spear snapped alongside Targaryen black and red. Cersei, still confined, raved of witch prophecies. She tore at hair, cursed Oberyn, prophesied the Valencar's hands upon her throat. Guards reported she sang to shadows, coaxing them to shape a child of gold and green fire. The night before Daenerys' arrival, Oberyn visited her cell. She paced like a caged she-lion, nails bloody crescents. "You think dragons save the realm?" she hissed. "They devour, as will I." Oberyn leaned on his spear. "You devoured yourself long ago." He held her gaze. "Accord your son peace, or be remembered as the mother who burned him." She lunged, chains rattling, but fell short. Oberyn sighed, left her whispering secrets to stone. Dawn broke rosy when Daenerys' fleet sailed through the gullet. City bells pealed joyous. Oberyn, Tommen, Marjorie, and the full court waited upon King Baelor's steps. The dragons circled overhead, shadows rippling across red roofs, their cries primal poetry. People knelt, awed, faces uplifted. Daenerys ascended the marble stairs, cloak swirling. Tommen sank to one knee, Marjorie followed. Oberyn knelt last, feeling stone bite his scarred knee, a reminder of debts paid. The Dragon Queen extended a hand to the boy king. "Rise, Prince Tommen of House Baratheon," first of his name. He rose, voice steady. "The Iron Throne welcomes House Targaryen. Let us rule together." Cheers thundered. In that roar, Oberyn felt the realm shift. A dragon's wing beat, vast and irrevocable. He glanced up. Dorne's banner, Targaryens, Baratheon's stag. All danced on icy wind beneath winter-blue sky. Yet even amid triumph, he sensed the stillness before next storm. Euron's krakens writhed across western seas. The Night King's army crept south beyond Shattered Wall, and Qyburn's whispers spoke of silent giants stirring in the bowels below. But for this heartbeat, justice breathed. Autumn rolled south quicker than memory. Court moved to the dragon pit for safety. Dragons roost on scorched terraces, watched by unsullied and awestruck children. Oberyn hammered governance with Daenerys, dismantling corrupt guilds, founding a council representing each kingdom. Sansa Stark for the north, Davos for the Stormlands, Garland Tyrell for the Reach, Asha Greyjoy petitioning for Iron Island's autonomy. Lannisters were offered amnesty under Kevin's stewardship if they repaid debts and ended hostilities. Some accepted, others scattered into outlaw companies. In back rooms, Oberyn and Tyrion plotted grain logistics, dragon logistics, war room logistics. You know, Tyrion quipped, rolling a die across the map. Someday we will gaze back at this and wonder if we were brilliant or mad. Both, Oberyn said, smiling tiredly. From the frost-rimmed north came ravens of dread. The dead marched past last hearth. Jon Snow, recently elected Lord Commander, begged succor. Daenerys vowed dragons would answer, but roads choked with snowdrifts. Ships risked pack ice. Oberyn suggested a Valyrian steel levy. Varys produced lists of blades long lost. Qyburn offered experimental wildfire bombs laced with dragonglass shards. Plans sprouted like mushrooms after rain. During midnight oil sessions, Oberyn's ribs ached, the old injury singing warnings. Nymeria insisted he rest. Obara thrust honeyed milk into his hands. He stole moments at the balcony where dawn or dusk painted the city, remembering Elia, her laughter like chimes above the water garden's pools. He whispered promises into the wind. One night, as bells tolled curfew, a messenger arrived bleeding from shoulder. Euron Greyjoy's fleet raised the arbor, captured Redwine vineyards, and now sailed up the coast with scorpion bolts designed for dragons. Council erupted. Mace Tyrell wailed. Daenerys clenched fists. Varys murmured of rats gnawing hulls. Tyrion sketched defensive ploys. Oberyn slammed spear but on marble. We meet krakens with serpents. Dorne's fleet harasses from south. Dragons strike their masts. Tyrell archers man coastal towers. That plan hatched within hours. Obara led sandship galleys, sails ochre under moonlight. Grey Worm drilled scorpion crews atop towers. Daenerys soared on Drogon, scouting ocean currents wreathed in starshine. Lightning storms littered the horizon, sign of autumn tempests. The first clash came off Cape Wrath. Euron's silence swept out a fog, horns blaring. Obara's flagship impaler rammed a longship, Dornish spearmen leaping deck to deck.
Arovs ignitet tar soaket seils.
Dragons wheeled overhead, but scorpion bolts hissed upward. One grazed Regal, drawing dark ichor. Oberyn watched from Duskendale ramparts through spyglass. His heart hammered to match war drums. Night consumed flame and blood. At dawn, wreckage bobbed, gulls wheeled. Euron retreated with half fleet burning, but Obara's hulls limped. Grey Worm reported casualties. Nymeria's ravens said Obara wounded yet alive, spear haft shattered. Oberyn exhaled gratitude into cold morning. But new peril brewed. Ravens from Eastwatch shrieked the walls fall. Dead poured south under a pale-horned king atop undead WRM, Viserion, stolen by white frost. Daenerys wept. Dragonfire would face dragon ice. Council agreed. Muster all forces north. Yet the realm's still fragile. Leave capital unguarded. Enemies within may shatter fragile peace. Tommen volunteered to stay, guarded by Gendry and loyal gold cloaks reformed into white cloaks under Ser Balon. Marjorie would guide city welfare. Tyrion and Varys coordinated supplies lines. Oberyn prepared to ride. Nymeria refused to stay. Elia coordinated medics. Tyene brewed nightshade antidotes. Spears gleamed in barracks torchlight. Davos sailed with grain. Yara Greyjoy ferried unsullied. Garland Tyrell marched knights. Even dwarf-led Lannister levies under Kevin joined to cleanse their honor. On a frost-silver dawn, dragons lifted from the dragon pit. Oberyn rode beneath Drogon's sweeping wings along the Kingsroad column. Snowflakes swirled, mottling Dornish copper armor with white flecks. Somewhere ahead, Winter's jaws gaped black and ancient. He glanced at Daenerys soaring overhead, cloak snapping like a banner. He thought of prophecy. The prince who was promised might be princess, or perhaps a viper born under desert sun, righteous poison in the realm's veins. Prophecy matters less than choice, he mused. Every step writes fate.
Spears tuddet in cadence, horns rang.
Oberyn gripped reins, ribs twinging with each jolt. Elia, this is for you, he whispered to memory. For every child lost, every cry unheard. The realm will burn bright with justice or be cleansed by fire. Either way, your spirit will not fade. Ahead, snow-clouded horizons. Behind, the spires of King's Landing receded into steam and smoke. If he survived, he would return to finish the tapestry he had begun. A realm knit of mercy, forged in justice, guarded by dragons and men alike. If he fell, the seeds were planted. As twilight bled upon the field and the breath of thousands rose like ghosts, Oberyn Martell spurred his horse north, spear raised, the ruby hand upon his breast catching the dying light, flaring crimson like the last heartbeat before dawn. Snow powdered the King's Road like sifted bone dust, muting hoofbeats and the rattle of harness as the column pushed north. Their banners rose and fell against a sky the color of bruised pewter. Martell sun and spear, Tyrell golden rose, stark direwolf in morning gray, the black three-headed dragon of Daenerys, and here and there, a crimson banner stitched overnight depicting a ruby hand. Oberyn watched them all and felt the tendons of a new realm knitting themselves beneath the skin of winter. The air smelled of pine resin and distant smoke. Dornish spearmen trudged in furs borrowed from the crownlands. Reach knights rode destriers steamed with exertion. Unsullied kept silent ranks, scarlet cloaks snapping like fresh flensed hides. Grey Worm marched at their head with the unwavering gait of a statue come alive, and at nightfall his soldiers erected camp with a precision that shamed the more casual nobles. Oberyn encouraged the mingling, Tyrell squires helping unsullied light hearth pits, Dornish cooks sharing spiced goat with Northman scouts who rode down from Moat Cailin to guide them. Brotherhood sprang quickest around a fire and a wineskin. He spent the journey refusing a litter old pride, though the spear cut in his arm had begun to itch with ominous heat. Maester Balabar wanted to reopen it, drain the swelling, but the prince would not slow the host for one man's weakness. Instead he rode every day beside Jon Cunnington, once Griffin Hand, now commander of a meager golden company splinter sworn to Daenerys, and quizzed him on river crossings, granaries, the fortifications surrounding Long Lake. Each answer he wove into strategy. 8 days out from White Harbor, the skies cleared enough that sunlight spangled the snowdrifts to blinding brilliance. The army halted on a low ridge overlooking the frozen ribbon of the White Knife. Carpets of hoarfrost crackled underfoot as scouts returned with strange tales. Hundreds of ragged wildling families sheltered near the walls of Winterfell, accepted under the command of Jon Snow. Others, mostly Weeper's men, skulked in haunted forests waiting for the army to pass before swooping on stragglers. Daenerys landed Drogon in a storm of snow and swirling ash from their own campfires. The beast's wing beats made every tent flap slack away. Horses screamed and pawed. Oberyn stepped close enough to feel heat radiate from black scales. He bowed only his head, politeness for a creature older than history. The dragon sniffed, a furnace exhalation, then folded wings and allowed the queen to dismount. She removed her leather glove and pressed fingertips to Oberyn's bandaged forearm. Still fevered, not as fevered as the realm we leave behind. Realm will outlive us. Arm will not if you dismiss sense. Maesters make stew of poultices. I prefer wine and forward motion. Oberyn grinned. But you ride dragons. You have little patience for incremental cures. Dany laughed. A quick, bright sound that turned many heads. We speak with Jon tonight. Send riders to Winterfell and demand parley on neutral ground. Near the statues of the first men, perhaps, old magic still clings to that grove. An invitation from the hand and a dragon queen should suffice, he said, but called for Davos Seaworth all the same. The Onion Knight took letters, touched heart with gloved hand, and set off at once with 2 swift riders. Before dusk, ravens beat their wings toward Winterfell, and fires glimmered bright inside the Hearttree Wood, ignaling acceptance. 2 nights later, Oberyn approached the sacred grove alone but for Nymeria and one sworn shield out of Sunspear, a quiet youth named Daeron Sand who had never tasted frost until that week. Daenerys arrived astride Drogon but left him curled at clearing's edge, great yellow eyes half-lidded. Snow muffled the world. The Hearttree's canopy caught flakes until branches sagged and autumn leaves glowed crimson beneath glassy rime. Jon Snow awaited, cloak of black and direwolf white fur pinned at throat. By his side stood a giant of a man, a wildling chieftain called Tormund Giantsbane, plus a dozen rangers in patchwork leathers. The Lady of Winterfell was there as well. Sansa in thick gray samite, hair like new-lit torches against gloom, gloves stitched with the maiden wolf. Words of greeting steamed the still night. Jon bowed to the queen and the prince in turn. Close up, Oberyn saw exhaustion webbed fine lines around the young commander's eyes. He had the look of men who rose before dawn each day expecting to die at dusk and found no surprise in survival. You came swiftly, Jon said. His voice carried the hoarseness of a man and used to sleep. We feared we would meet your army south of the moat, still fighting krakens and lions. The krakens limp, Oberyn said. The lions roar from their dens. Greater beasts stalk ahead. Jon's gray eyes flicked to Drogon's silhouette. Greater than that? The dead, Daenerys said. She touched Jon's elbow. Oberyn's scouts claim your ravens spoke truth. We have come to join your war. And mine, Sansa added, stepping forward. Her breath curled silver. Winterfell's larders are open to your host, but we cannot feed dragons. Dragons feed themselves, Dany said softly. They chase deer and goats. I'll keep them from your herds if I can. Tormund barked a laugh. Better than the dead chasing us. They circled a small fire and began trade of intelligence. Oberyn knelt on one knee, drawing pictures in snow with his dagger. The Weeping Pass, Queen's Crown Ruins, Last River Ford. Jon added marks for each white sighting, thin squads probing for weakness, and for the main horde swirling under the command of the Horned King astride undead Viserion. The dragon's flames burned ice blue hot enough to fuse stone. Spears fail, Jon said. Valyrian blades help, dragonglass helps, fire helps. A dragon would help most, but even Drago. 3 dragons, Daenerys corrected. But I will not fling them blindly into darkness. Oberyn closed eyes, envisioned strategy. Dragons lighting sky, ground troops moving by that glow, Northmen archers firing dragonglass-tipped arrows, unsullied phalanx guarding flanks while Dornish skirmishers harry. He smelled smoke and snow, heard the screams of horses unfamiliar with whites, the shriek of wind across pikes of ice. We hold at Winterfell, he said. No sense risking field battle where dead rise behind our lines. Stone walls, ringed trenches of pitch, stakes of dragonglass, scorpions loaded with flare pots to mark targets for your dragons. Close-quarter squads inside walls must wield steel and torch. We cycle units aft for warmth each 3 hours. Exhaustion kills faster than blades. Jon studied him. You speak as if you've fought them. I have fought men who thought themselves dead. Near enough. Sansa's gloves clenched. Winterfell will stand, she said. But castle walls were never meant to hold dragons, living or dead. They will, Oberyn promised, because we will make them. The march from ridge to castle covered 100 leagues of rutted snowpath. The host strung out like a serpent frozen mid-strike. Farmers abandoned hovels to watch foreign soldiers tramp past. Brown Dornish faces beside Tyrell pink, black skin of summer islanders who sailed with Davos, the ashen countenances of Unsullied. Children pressed dried blue winter roses into gauntlets for luck. Tireless ravens lifted off toward Eastwatch with daily accounts. For days out from Winterfell, the first real winter gale hit. The sky convulsed into charcoal swirls and stabbed sleet sideways. Men lost noses to frostbite in a single night. Tent ropes snapped. Mules died. Oberyn walked the line, cloak stiff with ice, cracking jokes in 3 languages until men forgot their throbbing feet. He shared his own ration of Dornish firewine with the youngest Tyrell squire and forced a pompous Lannister cousin to rub salve on a peasant archer's blackened toes. Dragons do not care for rank, he said, nor does death. At midnight, the gale died. Dawn revealed ghosts of the past. Broken towers of Moat Cailin on the horizon. Their mossy stones rhymed silver. The marsh smelled of rot sealed under ice. Nymeria red tracks. 3 whites had scouted the causeway but retreated after glimpsing unsullied vanguard with flaming torches.
No heroes, no bodies.
They withdrew like tides, waiting to surge. Oberyn's fever worsened. Under his sleeve the wound shone red-purple. Balabar lanced the swelling, drew forth pus that steamed in morning chill. Mistress of the Leeches would call this shadow fever. he said. "You must rest." "I rest once your prince lies safe," Oberyn answered, but he swallowed a tincture of Mother of Night and Dream Leaf to still the throbbing. That night he dreamed of Elia standing on the battlements of Dragonstone. Snowflakes fell on her hair. She smiled without blood upon her face. "Brother," she whispered, voice wind-thin, "you seek to save a world that devoured me, but you trade poison for poison." He reached for her. She dissolved into falling ash. He woke with a cry, Daeron's sand at bedside gripping spear. "Only dream," the boy said, but his eyes were wide with fear for his lord. Winterfell loomed at last, flanked by camps of wildlings and freed knights watch conscripts. Smoke rose from every chimney. The Godswood's boughs dripped icicles like crystal knives. Within hours, unsullied engineers dug concentric trenches, filling them with oil shipped from Bravos in copper drums sealed with wax. Dragonglass miners from Dragonstone dumped crates of black shards into carpenters' hands, who bound them to oak pikes. Northmen marveled at foreign efficiency. Gendry Waters, newly legitimized Baratheon for forging king's arms, set up a smithy near the old armory, stoking 3 forges day and night. He and Asha Greyjoy's men reshod hundreds of horses while Dornish tanners sewed leather fire pouches. Inside the great hall, banners drooped among pale columns. Sansa presided over war councils with parchment lists of grain, oats, salted pork. Oberyn admired her command. Every query answered, every shortage predicted. He watched Marjorie shadow her, learning logistics. Queens in training. Daenerys spoke seldom, surveying men and walls with an outsider's calm. All felt the humming power under her skin, tied to the dragons restless in the sky. Tyrion arrived from Gulltown with a second column of sellswords. Many Lannister defectors bribed by debt relief, and set about drilling them in nights of torchlight. For nights before the dead reached League's End, Jon convened a last council in the library. Candles guttered in draught. Wind keened through arrow slits. Jon drew a line across a vellum map. Scouts sighted their vanguard here, moving by night. We expect them at our trenches by dawn following next moonset. Their numbers beyond counting. Tyrion poured wine. Numbers shatter morale if repeated. Tell men only this, the walls must hold till sunrise. And if sunrise never comes, Tormund asked, because them whites breathe winter dark? Then we make our own dawn, Oberyn said. He tapped the map where pitch trenches meandered. At first assault, we ignite outer ring, forcing them to climb flame or funnel toward East Gate. Their unsullied phalanx holds. Dragons strafe from south, driving the horde between inner and outer flame lines where archers pepper with dragonglass. And the Night King? Daenerys asked. Oberyn looked to Jon. The Lord Commander's jaw tightened. We hunt him. He rides Viserion. If he dies, perhaps the dead fall. Then you and I must strike from sky. Daenerys touched droplet-shaped amulet at throat. Teardrop of dragonglass set in gold. Dragonfire may not kill him, but we try. Sansa shivered. If they breach the castle, then every corridor becomes a spear pit, Oberyn said. We prepared nap the jars. We collapse murder holes. He caught their eyes. Remember, fear kills faster than frost. We must shine brighter than it. The night before battle, Oberyn wandered the Godswood. The air cracked with brittle cold. Branches above clattered like antlers in duel. He knelt before the heart tree, crimson leaves rustling, face carved with eternal misery. Snow turned hair and eyelashes to white. Somewhere beyond trunks, he heard unsaddled dragons rumble. He spoke softly to Elia again, words scarcely breaths. Sister, I gather worlds to survive. If I fall, let my poison pass to those who follow. He pressed his bandaged arm against the tree's ice-slick bark. Sap oozed red as fresh blood. He left it there, a bond between Dornish sun and northern ice. Behind him came soft footfalls, Nymeria. You should sleep, she said. Sleep is armor too easily pierced by dreams. She studied him, moonlight limning her sharp cheeks. If you die, Sunspear loses 2 princes. Doran rules. Oberyn said. "He will coddle you with counsel." She smiled sadly. "Counsel cannot warm sand when sun is gone." He reached, squeezed her shoulder. "I wrote letters to each of you." He nodded toward the castle. "In my saddlebag." "You plan too far ahead," she whispered. "A proper blade is tempered by foresight." He grinned. "But tomorrow we live in the moment." They parted. She to drill sleepless Dornish sentries. He to the maester's turret for final salve. Balabar clucked, replaced bandage, forced a draft bitter as gall. Oberyn drank, wiped mouth, and descended spiral stairs to battlements where soldiers stood watch over flickering trench lines below. Torches revealed a wide snowfield blackened by fresh-dug ditches zigzagging like cracks in a mirror. Beyond, moonlight glimmered on ice-glazed ground. Nothing moved except a shifting mist that slithered along the horizon. Dawn found the world silent. No birds, no banners fluttering. Wind had died as if holding breath. Men shuffled to posts, stamping to thaw numb feet. Within Winterfell walls, courtyards bustled. Cooks ladled broth, maesters lit braziers. Pages carried quiver after quiver to ramparts where archers knocked black glass arrows, tips glistening violet under thin sun. Oberyn donned his armor. Overlapping scales of gleaming copper chased with smoking viper motifs, joints oiled against seizing cold. He strapped crimson cloak crosswise to leave sword arm free, slid fine Dornish spear into back harness. The bandaged arm protested every motion, but he ignored it. Helmet he left in his tent. He preferred clear sight, though frost bit his brow. He ascended Wall Walk near the east gate. Sansa stood there wrapped in wolf fur mantle, pale but calm. She offered him a mug of hot spruce tea. "For luck," she said. He sipped, savoring bitter resin. "A taste of northern heartwood," he mused. "Perhaps it will root me here when the wind tries to rip me away." Down at trench line, unsullied ignited tar pots. Orange light shivered against snow. An expectant hush fell. Even dragons aloft seemed to glide noiseless. A single horn blast moaned from the watchtower. Deep, mournful. Eyes swung east. Mist thickened, coalesced into marching shapes. First came animal carcasses. Bears with ribs exposed, dire wolves with icicle fangs. Behind them, a wall of human corpses, armor clanking. Their blue eyes blazed like unnatural stars across the waste. Oberyn tasted copper on his tongue, memory of first duel in King's Landing. He lifted spear shaft overhead and shouted in Rhoynish, "Sun we serve, sun we are. Burn them." Archers loosed flaming shafts into trenches. Alchemists tossed torches. Lines of fire roared to life, crackling crescendos that lit the pre-dawn gloom. Heat slammed into faces, thawed eyelashes at once. A cheer arose, but died abruptly when dead did not stop. They surged on, bodies sizzling, stepping through flame as if through summer stream. Skins charred, bones blackened, yet they pushed forward. Unsullied shields locked, polearms braced. Corpses hit the line with wet thumps. Shattered spears. First rank buckled but held. Oberyn saw Grey Worm parry 3 strikes and blink. Drive dragonglass tip into skull after skull. The dead fell and did not rise. Shards did their work. Drogon screamed overhead, a sound like mountains fracturing. A shadow swooped low. Torrents of red gold fire washed across the throng beyond outer trench, scorching hundreds to ash. Cheers roared anew, but blue fire answered. From depths of mist rose Viserion, wings ragged, scales layered in frost, eyes glowing baleful azure. His roar cracked ice. A beam of incandescent blue flame seared across air, collided with Drogon's flank. Dragonfire met dragonfire. The impact thundered, shockwave rattling teeth. Drogon veered, trailing smoke. Daenerys clung to saddle, urging him upward. Rhaegal joined, swirling green around brother's bulk. Together they dived, unleashed twin torrents that engulfed Viserion and forced retreat. On ground, white giants smashed stakes aside. Tyrell knights charged from side gate, lances tipped with obsidian. Horses panicked at undead odor, but riders spurred on, piercing giant knees, toppling them. One giant crawled, smashing 3 men with tree trunk arm before Oberyn sprinted, vaulted onto its back, drove spear through nape. It collapsed, still flailing until wildfire bombs thrown by Lannister deserters set it ablaze. Storm of steel, frost, and flame raged. Hours blurred. Oberyn fought atop the barricade where undead swarmed ladders hammered from their own bones. His spear whirled, each thrust a poem of vengeance. Fever gave strength eerie edge. He felt light, untethered, movements tracing after images of red light. Nymeria fought back to back, her daggers flowered in throats. Together they became legend whispered later by survivors. Midday sun tried to pierce cloud, failed. Dead pressed on. Inner trench held still, but flame died where oil depleted. Engineers rushed flasks, but whites pushed severed limbs into gaps, smothering fire with their own bodies. Ramparts shook as ice spiders the size of dogs scaled walls, fangs dripping frozen venom. Each bite turned flesh black in breaths. The maester's assistants dashed with saltwater sprayers. Archers skewered beasts mid-leap. Oberyn glimpsed Jon Snow on parapet by the broken tower, Valyrian sword Longclaw in gloved hands, cutting through whites with grim economy. At his side fought Arya Stark. He had forgotten she lived. Spinning blade of Dorne, a slender spear gifted that dawn by Nymeria sand. Together they protected a breach where stones had fallen. Horn blasts again, 3 this time. The Night King approached. He rode skeletal Viserion low, wings buffeting snow swirl. Cold radiated in waves. Torches guttered out. Men's breaths stopped mid-shout. Ice blossomed across shields. He targeted rampart above Wolf Gate where Tycho Nestoris and Braavosi advisors directed quartermasters. Blue flame ripped wall stones molten. They tumbled like glowing comets. Hundreds died. Dragons to him. Oberyn roared, but Daenerys and Jon Connington already streaked downward, Drogon and Regal flanking. They met Viserion mid-air. Talons clenched, fangs tore. Sky became hurricane of fire and frost. Night King hurled javelin of crystal ice toward Regal. The dragon spun, avoiding fatal strike but shard grazed wing. Blood rained red onto snow. Oberyn saw opening. He sprinted to stables where his personal sand steed waited less frantic than North horses. Fever hammered skull. Vision spotted. He mounted, vaulted down inner ramp path toward collapsed East Gate where whites clambered over rubble. Near gate, gray worms unsullied still formed diamond phalanx around burning brazier. Oberyn barged through, spear extended. "Protect my flank," he called. "We pierce to dragon pit." Unsullied locked shields advanced, Dornish skirmishers folding behind. They cut wedge through undead crowds, heading for open killing field just inside outer ring. There, Night King's personal guard of 13 White Walkers moved with glacial grace, blades of crystal swirling. They directed the dead like puppeteers. Oberyn's spearhead crashed into them. Dragonglass collided with crystal. Shards exploded. Cold bit deeper than steel. Unsullied stuttered but did not yield. The prince threw himself from saddle, rolled, thrust up under Walker armor. Spear plunged. Blue light erupted. Walker shattered into hoarfrost dust. He pressed on, coughing blood. Above, dragons wheeled, locked in mortal knot. Drogon's jaws clamped Viserion's throat. Frost detonated in plume. Night King leapt, landing on roofline of collapsed keep. Spear of ice forming instantly. He scanned for target, saw Daenerys exposed atop Drogon's back. Drew, aimed. A voice cried, "Prince!" Daeron Sand flung himself into path, shield raised. The ice spear struck shield, exploded, showering frost shards. Daeron slid back, dead eyes open, chest pierced through. Rage flooded Oberyn hotter than fever. He tore dragonglass dagger from belt, dashed forward across broken roof tiles slick with blood and snow, ignoring screaming shoulder. Night King raised second spear. An arrow thunked his wrist. Arya Stark from parapet, using weirwood shaft tipped with dragonglass. Blue blood spurted. Night King hissed silent fury, turned. Oberyn hurled dagger. It spun end over end. lodged beneath bone coronet at base of skull. Crack like shattering lake ice resounded. For heartbeat, nothing. Then fissures of luminous blue raced across Night King's flesh, spiderwebbing. Light burst. He disintegrated into snow dust that blew away on sudden breeze. Viserion screamed, flailed as blue fire guttered, frost scales falling like sloughed skin. Drogon released him, banked away. Every wight in field shuddered, collapsed, or froze mid-stride. Silence rippled outward as if a choir of howls had been cut mid-note. Oberyn fell to knees. Strength drained like wine from cracking cask. Unsullied stared, shields still locked but eyes wide. Dornish and Tyrell men gasped in astonishment as corpses around them lay still, black quiet. Snowflakes drifted. They fell upon Prince's bare head, melting on fever-hot skin. He laughed once, a ragged satisfied sound, then pitched forward. He floated in darkness scented of orange blossoms and ash. Voices murmured. Dany's soft Valyrian, Balabar's deep tremor, Tyrion's quip about princes and martyrdom. He could not rise through tar of exhaustion. At last pain prodded him awake. Burning rope from wrist to shoulder, throb in temples. He opened eyes. A wooden ceiling above, hung with herbs, candles guttering. He lay on a feather mattress inside Winterfell's solar. Bandages wrapped half torso, arm bound to chest. Balabar stood, brow creased, while Nymeria dozed slumped in chair, sword across lap. How long? Oberyn croaked. 2 days, Balabar said. Wound turned black overnight. We bled leeches full 3 times. Fever broke at dawn. The dead, gone, Nymeria answered, stirring. Pyres smoke still, but no movement. Dragons patrol. Oberyn exhaled. And the queen? Daenerys sees to survivors, Nymeria said. Jon Snow recovering. Half the council scalded by frost but alive. Your deed, she swallowed. They say you killed death itself. That was a lucky throw, he rasped. Luck born of vengeance, Balabar moot. Read, rest or lose arm. I need arm to sign treaties. Oberyn forced grin. The realm must not squander victory. Footsteps brushed hall. Doors opened. Daenerys entered wearing plain wool cloak and soot-smudged cheeks. Behind her limped Jon Snow, arm in sling, and Sansa with parchment roll. You awake, Daenerys breathed. Awake, alive, annoying, Tyrion added, slipping in last. Oberyn smiled alabaster thin. Annoyance is royal privilege. Jon approached bedside. You saved us all. Not alone, Oberyn corrected. You softened his guard. You aimed hard, Dany said. She sat, clasped his unbandaged hand. Dragons are freed from frost. Realm stands. Now we must hold it. Sansa unfurled parchment. Survivor counts, supply lists, next planting schedule. If we sow soon, summer crops may salvage starvation. Oberyn nodded. The small council of Winterfell convenes. He tried to rise. Balabar pushed him down. He sighed, yielded. Very well. Dictate. I'll mumble from mattress. They began. Tyrion scribbled. Jon proposed garrisoning Eastwatch with mixed forces. Dany pledged dragons to hunt remaining white packs. Sansa assigned orphans to new steward program. Even Balabar suggested using wildling labor to clear charred fields. Over them, dusk light slanted through shutters, gold upon blood-stained floorboards. Hours later, when others departed to tasks, Oberyn lay staring at ceiling beams. Nymeria trimmed wick. You gave all, she said quietly. So did each of them. You bled for vengeance. Did you find it? He considered. Elia's laughter echoed faint within memory, but now it mingled with voices of North and Reach and even Lannister. Vengeance was path, he said at last. Justice the horizon. I have not reached it. She smiled. Plenty of road left. He closed eyes, drifting toward sleep, and dreamt this time not of blood and snow, but of sun rising over fields where children chased red-dyed ribbons under dragon shadows, unafraid. a realm reborn beneath a sky both firelit and frost-cleansed. Somewhere Elia watched, her smile no longer tinted by grief. Spring thaw came swift, as if fearful of dragon's scrutiny. Rivers cracked, roared, carried dead ice to sea. In the courtyard of Winterfell, a great council gathered. Lords of every kingdom, knights free of liege, wildling chieftains, Iron Bank representatives, the High Septon in thick ermine. They stood beneath banners still ragged from battle, smoky light gilded edges. Tommen traveled north by ship, escorted by Brienne and Ser Balon's white cloaks, to witness treaty. The boy's eyes widened at first sight of castles rebuilt crenels and stone patched with dragonglass mortar. He embraced Jon Snow. They spoke as equals. Daenerys, perched on throne of hewn weirwood, erected atop weirwood stump where Bran Stark once sat in childhood game. She wore crown of hammered black steel set with red jasper. Tommen stood one step below, silver circlet gleaming. Oberyn, arm still in sling, held twin parchments. He addressed assembly. Voice rang, clear despite cracked ribs. Let it be known, the realm owes survival to unity, not lineage. This council establishes a compact of kingdoms bound by mutual defense and equitable law. He listed independence of North as protectorate, taxation ratio, abolition of debtors' prisons, recognition of wildling freefolk as citizens north of Queen's Crown. Each clause met cheers or murmurs, but signatories pressed seals. Direwolf, Sunspear, Rose, Kraken, Stag, even Lion. Kevin bowed grave respect. When Dragon and Stag both affixed their wax, Oberyn rolled parchment. By sword and spear we saved the living. By quill we sustain them. May this accord outlive dragons and men alike. Flames from braziers guttered skyward as wind rose, carrying scent of pine and hope. Regal shrieked overhead. Small folk gasped as green wings cast emerald shade. Oberyn felt warmth on face, despite cold. He realized tears sprang unbidden. A release months in forging. Nymeria squeezed his hand. Tyrion offered wineskin. From vantage of castle walls, winter's scars remained. Blackened fields, mounds of ash, broken towers. Yet green shoots pierced rubble, persistently bright. Children played tag between dragonglass stakes awaiting removal. Somewhere, smithies forged plowshares from shattered swords. Oberyn closed fingers around ruby hand brooch at his breast. Weight felt heavier than before, responsibility wrought of risen dead and broken empires. Yet his heart felt lighter, uncoiled from decades of poison. He turned to Daenerys, to Tommen, to assembled lords. We begin again, he said, and the realm, against all expectation, believed him. Months passed in ceaseless labor, rebuilding roads, draining battlefields, resettling freedfolk into abandoned holdfasts. Oberyn rode tirelessly, Dreadfort, White Harbor, even Last Hearth where snow still clung like stubborn ghosts. Everywhere, he heard new word for him in northern tongues. Sunhand. He accepted with a rueful smile. Titles mattered less than granaries filled. Rumors reached him of Euron Greyjoy's ship splintered on Stepstone's rocks, crew devoured by his own caged krakens. Of Frey sons poisoned one by one until Waldersign's surrender to Riverrun's new lord Edmure. Farther south, Queen Regent Cersei remained under gentle guard in Baelor's September, writing treatises blaming witches. Her rage dimmed into dull glow. Some said she wept for Tywin at night. Oberyn planned eventual exile to Banefort or perhaps Old Town September Mercy. Once alien on his tongue, tasted plausible now. At King's Landing, Tyrion and Varys oversaw reforms. Street lanterns lit at night, water cisterns cleaned, brothels taxed, orphanages endowed. Shouts of half-man in streets turned affectionate. Crime dropped, spice prices stabilized. Alchemists returned to honest fire breath shows for children. One crisp morning on Dragonstone Wharf, while inspecting new fleetcraft using Ravenry-taught semaphore flags, Oberyn received Raven message. Prince Doran gravely ill. He sailed at once, Nymeria and Maester Balabar accompanying. The journey south served as healing pilgrimage. Salt air cleared lungs still raw from ice. In water gardens, Doran welcomed him with frail smile. They talked hours under orange boughs about vengeance and justice. Doran squeezed brother's hand. "Our sister may rest," he whispered before slipping into final sleep at sunset. Oberyn wept openly, then assumed sunspears thrown only long enough to confirm Arianne as Princess of Dorne. He declined titles, claimed only his hand's chain, and departed again for King's Landing, leaving Nymeria as Arianne's counselor. "I belong where the realm binds, not one border," he said. Back in capital, he found Daenerys training new council recruits. Commonborn scribes taught to read records, women apprenticing in counting houses, even a summer islander poet overseeing translation of laws into 8 tongues. He kissed her knuckles. "Progress outruns my horse," he said. She smiled. "Your seeds sprout." On moonless night, they climbed Aegon's high hill where New Glass Monsignor, the upward-pointed sword monument to unity, caught starlight. City lights glittered below. Dany turned to him. "You lost sister, brothers, years, yet you still run. Running keeps blood warm. Stay," she urged. "Teach them longer." He hesitated, feeling wind tug cloak eastward. At last he nodded. "Until the realm no longer needs my poison." She placed palm over his heart. "Then you'll find it has turned to medicine." He laughed softly, gathered her hand, and led path down toward Dragon Pit where hatchlings chirped in golden straw. Future rose on wings. Years crossed as measured by dragon molts. Tommen grew into young man with broad shoulders and quiet wisdom. Marjorie guided him but deferred on matters of law. He in turn deferred to hand. Sometimes crowds glimpsed them sparring with spears on palace lawn. Lessons Oberyn continued weekly. He forbade tourneys until harvests filled again. Tommen obeyed gladly. Daenerys ruled from Dragonstone half-year, King's Landing half. When she birthed daughter with silver-gold hair and dark eyes, Oberyn presided naming feast. They called her Elia Daenerys, in honor of the sister who set all in motion. Oberyn held Babe, tears glossing lashes, whispered, "Vengeance becomes love at last." The realm yet bristled. Pockets of old houses harbored grudges. Ironborn raiders flared, free cities schemed. But small folk ate, roads thrived, and ravens bearing plague tales grew rare. Grand Maester Balabar recorded winters shorter, springs earlier. Some claimed dragons warmed climate. One dusky evening, Oberyn strolled through Kingswood Grove planted by Marjorie's gardeners. Leaves rustled in soft breeze scented of myrtle. He paused by sapling orange imported from Dorne. Blossoms unfurled between northern pines and reach rowans. He closed eyes, inhaled fragrance bridging past and present. Footsteps. Jon Snow emerged, now Warden of North, scars silver on face. He inclined head. "I depart at dawn. Night's watch numbers rise thanks to your decrees. They need final counsel." "Give them wisdom," Oberyn said, "and hope." Jon studied Prince. "Do you still ache for battle?" "The spear always aches," Oberyn admitted, rubbing partly lame arm. "But I ache more for harvest." Jon smiled. "Then we are alike." Wolves turned shepherds. They clasped forearms. As Jon left, moon climbed, painting tree trunks pale. Oberyn lingered until nightingales sang. He thought of journey. Desert boy dueling mountain, court intrigues, dragons, snow. Circle closed now at orchard crossbred of all kingdoms. Justice seated, seedlings steady. He exhaled, slow, felt ribs ache. Scars reminder of cost. He dropped to one knee, pressed palm to fresh earth. "Sleep, sister," he whispered. "Sun rises." And in hush of Kingswood, with dragons sleeping overhead and city lights flickering like constellations reversed, Oberyn Martell, Sunhand, Viper, Savior, finally allowed himself to breathe as a man no longer fueled solely by vengeance, but by the fragile, fierce hope of what he had helped build. The realm, in turn, breathed with him. Candelas flickered in the cavernous vault of the dragon pit as twilight gathered beyond the shattered ribs of its dome, and Oberyn Martell found himself pacing the broken mosaic floor where once the Targaryen beasts had snarled in iron chains. The interplay of gold light and gathering dusk painted jagged silhouettes across the heaps of half-melted slag and calcined bone. Mute testimony to the dragons that had burned here, to the armies that had camped in these ruins, and to the unlikely peace that had followed. It was here the hand often came when the weight of law and parchment threatened to press him flat. The stones still breathed of fire and death, reminders that all empires were but fragile shells, quick to crack. Tonight, though, the echoing space seemed almost warm. A scattering of lanterns bobbed where stonemasons chipped at pillars readying the pit for a new purpose. Not a prison, but an eyrie, a place for dragons to roost in daylight rather than brood in chains. High above, netting of interlaced ironwood beams caught dwindling daylight like the ribs of a colossal ship. At Oberyn's order, the battered bronze gates had been widened, allowing the adolescent dragons Moonfire and Savri to come and go beneath the watch of unsullied handlers who trained them to answer brazen trumpets instead of whipcracks. He paused, breathing in dust laced with lime and soot. Months had passed since the long night's shard had cracked and blown away, yet some nights he still woke drenched in sweat, certain he heard the Night King's ice splinter roar beneath his window. Balabar called it phantom dread, a scab on the mind. Oberyn called it prudence. So he walked all nights he could, wearing out fear on broken stones. A hush of wings spilled overhead. Regal, sleek and dusky emerald, sailed in lazy orbit through the towering vault, talons brushing air just above scaffolds braced with silvered chains. He loosed a croon half challenge, half greeting, and Oberyn tipped his head up. "Easy, old boy," he murmured, though the dragon was but 10. "I've no spear for you tonight." Leathered wings drew air and the beast alit at the vault's ridge, curling tail around a shattered colonnade. Dragons, like princes, learned to make thrones of any perch. Footsteps echoed across the floor. Tyrion approached in heavy sable cloak trimmed with fox. "You mutter to reptiles with more tenderness than most men grant their lovers," he said, voice bouncing in the wide space. "Some courtiers whisper the prince was half serpent already. Now he courts wyverns too." Oberyn chuckled. "Serpents mind their own coils. Dragons do not." He slid hands behind back, ignoring the pang in his half-healed arm. "What news?" From Bravos, a courier brig, Tyrion produced a parchment thick with seals. "The Iron Bank approves a third loan at favorable rates, contingent upon the sustained stability of the unified monarchy, meaning we had best keep the king and queen smiling at each other in public." "Non-trivial," Oberyn said. "They barter iron coin for smiles." "Indeed." Meanwhile, the Citadel's new Archmaester of Healing has arrived to inspect Qyburn's laboratories. Expect shouts. And Lord Redwine complains that dragon patrols over the arbor singe grapevines. Tyrion's brows waggled. "Apparently charred vintage is not yet a fad." Oberyn laughed. "Write him an apology and a cask of Dornish sunset wine. Sweeter, less combustible. Consider it done." Tyrion scanned the echoing vault. "You pick curious haunts for diplomacy. Any moment one of these darlings might sneeze and we'd both be flambé. That would solve the Iron Bank terms, at least," Oberyn said. "But I came seeking echo, not court." Tyrion sobered. "Rumors swell again. Whispers that Cersei stirs houses in the far west." "Cersei stirs only ghosts now," Oberyn said. "But ghosts unsettle cattle. A minor expedition will reassure." He moved to a low wall and rested fingers on weather-worn granite. "Tell me truthfully, imp, does the realm breathe or merely gasp?" Tyrion tucked parchment into belt. "It breathes, shallow on stormy days, deeply on sunny. We've restored aqueducts, funded orphan houses, and the grain road from Old Town to King's Landing buzzes with carts again. But breathe too easy and old rot lifts its head." He pointed upward where Regal shifted. "Dragons keep the baleful in check as swords never could. Yet even dragons get gout if overfed." Oberyn grunted. "Balance, a sword's edge forever." He turned. "Come, a council meets at first moonrise. We must review Sithorio's expedition charters." "Ah yes," Tyrion scratched beard. The queen's dream of repopulating the ravaged crownlands with spice planters and ivory hunters. A bold venture or a good way to lose bold men. All leaps smell like cliffs at first sniff, Oberyn said. He clapped the dwarf's shoulder, and together they strode across glowing embers of torchlight, out into the waiting night. Moonrise bathed the red keep in pearl, frost glinting along parapets though spring pressed in the valleys beyond the city. The Tower of the Hand thrummed. Runners, page boys, maesters bearing copper-bound ledgers. Inside column-shadowed hall, the small council assembled beneath carved rafters. Wind slipped along arrow slits, stirring tapers into nervous dance. Daenerys arrived in modest black and rust gown, dragon leather belts crossing her torso, hair caught by simple knot. The crown remained with stewards. She disliked its weight at closed meetings. Tommen sat opposite, older now, shoulders square inside dark green doublet embroidered with golden stags. Between them, chairs hosted rulers of sun and leaf. Arryn Martell, freshly come north for sisterly council. Lady Sansa in pearl gray, Garland Tyrell representing Highgarden. Kevan Lannister, lines etched deeper since the long night. Oberyn took seat below the queen, rubbing knuckles, feeling heat gather in scarred arm. Balabar hovered discreetly with powder vial should fever drift back. Varys, pathways of hair now silver, opened parchment. Reports from Westerlands confirm rumor. One Ser Arson Heatherspun, disgraced knight, rallies bannerless Sellswords near case. They ride under crimson banners sewn with a black lion skull. No doubt homage to former queen. Kevan bristled. I disclaim such carrion. Of course, Varys soothed. Yet small folk cannot parse nuance. He looked to Oberyn. Action? Lord Kevan shall dispatch 100 Lannister riders under honest banner, joined by 20 white cloaks, Oberyn said. They will escort traveling bard troops who will spread songs of lion loyalty to the realm. Blade and ballad equal force. Tyrion made face. Cersei roused by music? That would be novel. Better songs than heads upon wall, Oberyn replied. Next, Arryn Martell rose. On our southern water, storms cut spice routes. I propose construction of lighthouse at Starfall financed jointly by Crown loans and Dornish coffers. It would slash wreckage losses by half. A tower of shattered starstone, murmured Garland, calculating. Lighthouse beams may lure pirates as well. So we bait them, Oberyn said. Unsullied garrison will station within. Daenerys nodded. Funding approved. Sansa unfolded linen paper. Winterfell granaries exceeded predictions by 20%. We offer to supply corn to the Vale at reduced rate, in exchange for stonemasons to rebuild holdfast towers from giants' damage. Tyrion rapped knuckles. An equitable barter. He looked to little Lord Robert seated as observer, taller, healthier after training under the Night of Flowers. Robert blushed, nodded vigorously, and so the council flowed, coin, roads, rebuild. Minor lords fought with voices not swords. Oberyn guided them as a patient fencer parries flurries until opponent tires. When final seal pressed wax, moon sat high, silver across stone. Daenerys dismissed council but asked Oberyn linger. Others drifted out, their murmurs fading. She poured wine. You would move armies with songs, she said. Do you trust men to hear music over greed? He shrugged. Some hearts beat to coin, others to tune. At worst, the melody buys time. Her violet eyes studied him. And does your heart still beat to vengeance? He considered long. Elia's memory no longer ravens at my window. Still, when I pass Mountain's skull displayed in crypt, I feel pulse quicken. Understandable. She lifted goblet. To letting ghosts rest. They drank. Seasons. The realm inhaled blossoms of early summer. Merchants from Volantis moored at King's Landing with holds of cinnamon and jute, paying harbor tax without bribe. Miracle whispered along fish markets. Pyres once piled with white bones were replaced by flower stalls. Wanderers recounted tales of Sunhand and Dragon Queen forging world where olive branches outnumbered swords. One dawn, ravens arrived bearing seal of Iron Islands. Asha Greyjoy requested presence of hand and Queen at Pike to witness adoption of Charter of Reasonable Plunder, an agreement bounding Reavers to trade rather than raid. Daenerys saw irony but approved. Oberyn sensed test of trust. They sailed aboard Stormrunner, a sleek war galley retrofitted into diplomatic vessel. Tyrion came, chronicling. Grey Worm commanded Marines. Balabar brought herbs for seasickness. At Pike, waves smashed stone, spray tasting of rust. Lordsport Harbor bristled with black-hulled ships flying Kraken banners now emblazoned with silver anchor crossing trident. New sigil for seafolk who swore to temper the storm. Ha greeted them on causeway where rope bridges swayed in salt wind. She had taken title shield of seastone chair, eschewing queenly style. They walked high walks above crashing sea, ironborn captains spitting over rails in gestures of respect. Oberyn listened as Asha outlined plan. Share of salvage from Karth convoys in return for crown charters. Dragon patrol to keep slavers at bay. Schooling of ironborn youth in arithmetic and rope-making rather than reaving alone. A feast. Barrels of black-tide dark ale flowed. Reavers sang dirges of old way though daggers remained sheathed. Oberyn matched ironborn in toast after toast until his ribs protested. At last Asha slammed pewter mug, challenged him to spear throw competition into swirling surf below. He demurred citing healing arm, offered Nymeria instead. She, half drunk, hurled javelin that skewered a shark-cresting wave. Cheers exploded. Treaty sealed not by parchment but by shared roar. During return voyage, storm clouds massed. Waves heaved, snapping halyards. Oberyn braced on quarterdeck gripping rail. Balabar begged him below, but he shook head. Storm teaches humility, he said. Lightning forked. Thunder roared. Yet dragons overhead, regal and new-grown hatchling Rialta, rode gusts with effortless grace, luminous under flashing sky. Oberyn watched them and felt thrill. Living gods escorting mortal scribbles. They made harbor battered but whole. Marjorie welcomed them at Jetty Tower, showing stubbed fingers from rose grafting. She reported Freedmen's Guild in Meereen requested audience to present Bronze Colossus as gift to realm, trade blossoming across narrow sea. In time, old wounds reopened from unexpected quarter. Dorne. Austere envoys from House Ironwood arrived, cloaks of tawny and black, carrying petition claiming Starfall Lighthouse project siphoned water rights, endangering their pasturelands. They demanded arbitration. Oberyn returned south to Sunspear with Tyrion and two maesters versed in river hydraulics. Arianne hosted them in Palace of the Sun. Marble fountains whispered. Night blooming jasmine perfumed air. Yet tension underlay courtesies. Ironwood retainers glared at Martell guards as if measuring throats for blades. The conference stretched days, calculations, flow models, promises of aqueduct repair. Oberyn mediated tirelessly, coaxing Ironwood scion miles into compromise. A new dam diverting half flow to pasture, paid equally by Martell and Crown loan. On final night, Oberyn sat alone on rampart overlooking the restless Braavosi Sea. Stars flecked heavens and he toyed with leather strap around wrist, gift from Daenerys braided of dragonskin. Footsteps behind. Arianne. You chase peace with nets too thin, she said softly. All nets tear, but catch enough fish for supper, he replied. She leaned on parapet. Court whispers you love this dragon queen. I love this realm she and I made, Oberyn said. Love is root of many vines. Arianne laid hand on his. Do you miss sun's warmth? Home. Home was stolen years ago. He exhaled. Now I build where bricks already lie. She searched his face. Then at least return to Dorne each year. Let children know their uncle is more than legend on parchment. I will. He squeezed her fingers. They looked to sea breaking silver against dark sand, and waves carried away old grudges. Another year. Tommen wed Marjorie at last in grand ceremony beneath freshly rebuilt September petals reigned. Dragons arced overhead like living banners. Oberyn stood witness, chain of hand freshly polished. He noted Cersei among guests, veiled in gray, flanked by septa escorts. Resentment simmered, but she bowed when Tommen passed. Later, she pulled Oberyn aside in cloister. My father's bones still rot unburied, she said, voice hollow. You display his skull in crypt for lessons. When lessons cease, bones may rest, Oberyn answered. She studied him, bitterness etched. You won this game, Viper. One day you will need forgive yourself for playing. He considered. Perhaps forgiveness is a crown heavier than any. She swept away. The newborn princess Elia Daenerys toddled across Redstone Courtyard chasing sun motes. Oberyn watched from bench, arm in sling again after sparring mishap. Her laughter bubbled. Daenerys knelt, coaxed hatchling Rialta to let tiny hands pat warm scales. Scene glowed. Grey Worm approached with scroll. Tales of sickness in distant summer isles, plague riding merchant vessels. Oberyn's brow furrowed. Trade opened doors to gift and gall alike. He summoned maesters, ordered quarantine protocols at every port. Some lords balked, tariffs dropped, grumbling rose, yet plague ships were intercepted near Tarth. Infection contained. He drafted edicts for future storms. Quarantine harbors, houses for healers, coin reserved for famine years. Tyrion joked that Hand enjoyed building sandwall against tide of catastrophe. Oberyn replied, better grains of sand than bones. As years rolled, parchment towers grew. He saw young knights draw swords only at tourney, small folk named children after Sunhand and Dragon Queen. But he also saw complacency creeping, merchants bribing harbor masters again, minor lords jostling for old privileges. The pendulum of stability swung toward decadence. He met Daenerys on ramparts. We will always chase corruption, he said. It is shadow that grows behind any flame. Then we keep lighting torches, she answered. On the 10th anniversary of Night King's fall, banners of every kingdom converged on King's Landing for Jubilee of Dawn. Market tents spanned Blackwater shores. Actors reenacted last battle. Crowds cheered as Straw Night King combusted in bonfire high as keep. Oberyn watched from dais, heart heavy with memory of fallen but proud of living. When twilight bled, he slipped away to Dragon Pit where only flicker of torches lit colonnades. He walked to center where cracked mosaic of three-headed dragon lay. Knelt, whispered thanks to gods old and new, not for victory, but chance to mend. Behind him, footsteps. Nymeria, older lines around eyes. Council hunts you, she said. Council can wait. He rose slowly. I need quiet. She touched his sling. Arm fails more each year. Poison lingers. Maybe time to relinquish chain. He looked up to vault where dragons roost, their bodies immense curves of shadow. A hand may guide till crop is ready, then soil needs rest. He sighed. But I fear weeds if I step away. Then prune from garden, not plow. She smiled. Half of him saw Elia's smile there. You taught us how. He considered long. When Elia Daenerys is old enough to speak full sentences, perhaps. I will return to Dorne. Teach children to fence the wind. Nymeria squeezed his good hand. They stood in hush among ancient bones brought to new purpose, winds of the narrow sea whispering beyond. Yet destiny weaves beyond intent. Midwinter, a quake shook the stepstones. Volcano erupted, spewing ash and sea fire. Waves raced toward Dorne coasts. Oberyn, in Sunspear visiting Arianne, witnessed wall of water devour fishing villages. He commandeered sandship fleet, ferrying survivors to high dunes. Dragons soared, their wings stirring tidal froth as they plucked children from rooftops. After chaos, he toured ruins, bodies entangled in fishing nets, salt fields buried under silt. Kneeling by shattered harbor arch, he felt old ache, the realm's vulnerability. He penned letters demanding coastal fortifications, emergency granaries inland. King and Queen approved budgets, though coffers tight. While South rebuilt, North simmered. Reports of free folk raiding Umber ranches, tensions flaring. Jon Snow traveled to mediate, but rumors of winter spirits around Frostfangs resurfaced. Perhaps pockets of dead, unbound by Night King still wandered. Council debated new Northern Watch. Oberyn listened, sensing creeping fatigue among lords. He realized cycle never ends. Disaster, reprieve, repair. A realm lives by constant tending. One dawn he stood atop high hill and removed ruby hand pin. Watch sun strike gem into blood-red star. Daenerys arrived quietly. He offered brooch. She shook head. You are my hand. Hands wither if clenched too long. He pressed gem to her palm. Choose next from those raised under the new dawn. Let them carry my lessons. Her eyes shone. Who? Many. Sansa for northern prudence, Garland for fields, Nymeria for knives and quills. You will know. He smiled faint. I will write treatises from Sunspear. They'll ignore half, but half will root. Tears mirrored in her gaze. She embraced him, dragon warmth against desert cool. The realm may forget wars, but it will remember you. Let it remember peace, he whispered. Farewell feast echoed with bittersweet song. Tommen toasted mentor. Marjorie gifted a journal bound in rose leather. Tyrion produced goblet engraved with coiled viper. Even Kevin laughed. Oberyn spoke last. I came for vengeance and found duty. I leave duty hopeful it seeds virtue. 10 dragons, yes, but 10 gardens too. Teach children to read the histories we bled to write. At sunrise he rode out Gate of the Gods with modest retinue. Daeron Sand, now captain of Sunspear Guard, 2 maester scribes, a cart full of grafted saplings to replant near water gardens. Crowd gathered, cheering sun hand, petals swirling. He glanced back once. City skyline crowned by dragon pits, restored dome gleaming bronze, sept spires, new lighthouse along harbor. Dragons wheeled against dawn. He smiled, spurred mount. Road south stretched white with frost-kissed dew. Along verge, new hedges of orange saplings he'd ordered years ago now bloomed, scent mingling with pine. He breathed deep. Forward awaited sun, siblings, and quiet sands where he would teach next generation to spin spears not for vengeance, but dance. Behind him, realm of 7 kingdoms, no, realm of many kingdoms knit, continued its fragile song. It would know droughts, quakes, petty wars, but it had learned to heal. And across sky, dragons kept vigil against night returning. Oberyn Martell rode on, crimson cloak billowing, ruby brooch left shining upon Queen's breast, and with each hoofbeat the echo of his oath whispered through waking world. Justice burns but gives light. Keep tending the flame. The sun climbed. The road bent south. The story endured.